Hey guys, hope you're doing well. So today we have a bit of a different video. It was heavily requested, but this is going to be a video on the math behind sports betting and how to actually profit in the betting markets. To give you a very quick intro, this is going to be one of the most important videos you guys ever watch in sports betting. I've been banned from multiple casinos. I've been limited, really. You can't really get banned. They legally can't ban you. They limit you for winning too much. I've interviewed Prizepicks odds makers. I've hired data scientists from Prizepicks, many other people. It's all on my channel, and on top of that, we're even verified on an app called Pickit to show you proof of our profitability. If you don't know, you can't fake your results on Pickit. It's basically an app that just tracks all your bets, and here's our team's results, 350 units of profit, and I've made thousands myself, thousands for other people. But the point of this video is to educate you, and I mean educate you a lot, because there are a lot of scammers in the sports betting space, and I kind of just want to clear the air a little bit, so this might be a longer video. I'm going to literally just rip it for you guys, I guess, pretty much. So we're going to go over a ton of stuff in this. So if you are serious about sports betting, or you just want to learn more and understand the back end of things, highly recommend you guys get out a pen and paper, because this is going to be some straight sauce that pretty much nobody else can give you, because most people, as I said, don't actually put the time, effort into winning. They're just selling you some scam. The one thing I will say, there will be no promotion for the rest of this video. The only request that I do have from you guys is, if you are interested, we do have Discords down below. We have two companies. They have full refund policies if you don't like it. So go check them out down below, and let's get into it. So the first thing you guys have to understand is I want to explain two things. Number one, we're going to explain fixed payouts versus regular payouts, and we're going to explain implied win rates. So if you're on Prizepicks, if you're on Underdog, if you're on any of those apps, we're going to break down what fixed payouts are. Fixed payouts are when you're on Prizepicks. If you're on Fanduel, DraftKings, just wait a second. If you're on Prizepicks right now and you click more or less on a player, your payout will not change. Let's say you're making a 3-man and you put more. Unless it's correlated, like Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp both to go over, it's going to be the exact same payout. So if you take one guy's over, and then you switch it to the unders, your payout won't change. So those are fixed odds payouts. This is very easy to beat in the betting markets, because you can reverse engineer the math behind these apps like Prizepicks and Underdog to figure out something called optimal slip type, which we'll get into later. If you're on FanDuel and DraftKings, it'll give you something like minus 110, which is not fixed odds payouts. If I'm confusing you, don't worry. We're going to get all this in much more detail. If you're on Underdog, if you're on FanDuel, DraftKings, minus 110, meaning if it's a 50-50 chance that this will happen or this will happen, it's going to be minus 110. Standard betting stuff. I'm not going to go over that in too much detail here. If you don't know what minus 110 means, you probably should not be watching this video. Anyway, implied win rates. So this is very important. All these calculators are going to be linked on elitepicks.com. They are completely free to check out. So explaining implied win rates. So let's say LeBron James is pegged at 30.5 points over under. All right, listen, he might not be averaging anywhere near that, but let's just say, like, for example, he's averaging on the season, he's averaging 30.5 exactly. And the sports books or whatever app you're on has his over under on points at over 30.5, under 30.5. So it's a perfectly priced line, and like theoretically he's going up against the perfect matchup. Like, it's not a great defense, not a bad defense, it's perfectly average. So it's exactly a 50% chance for him to go over and exactly a 50% chance for him to go under. And that is exactly what the sportsbooks want to do with all of their lines. If they thought it was a little bit of a tougher matchup, it might have been 29.5, but whatever it might be, let's just say it's 30.5, and it's exactly a 50-50 chance. We don't know. So what you can do then is you can go to this betting odds calculator, and you can actually input your bet amount. Let's say it's minus 110 odds. For those of you that don't know, as I just mentioned, 50% chance in sports betting is correlated to minus 110 odds. If you're on Chalkboard, if you've ever played on Sleeper, it correlates over to about 1.91. If you've ever played on Sleeper, you're getting robbed because they give you 1.77x on every play instead of 1.91x. So long story short, to give you a quick little tangent, minus 130 is 1.77x, meaning you're basically getting robbed if you're on Sleeper right now. So let's continue. Delete that part. 1.91x or minus 110 is the standard 50-50. If it's a 50-50 game, you don't know if he's going to go above or below. Why is that important? We can use that to figure out something called our implied win rate. So basically, meaning break-even win rate, I should say. At a minus 110 odds pick, you're going to need to have a win rate of 52.38% to profit in the long run. So basically, you bet 110 bucks. If it wins, you make 100 of profit, 210 in total. 52.5% win rate is needed to profit, which doesn't make sense though, because we just said it's a 50-50 game, but you need to win 52.5% of your bets to profit. That's what the casino's house edge is. So for example, if we take 52.4% chance, multiply it by 2, you can see we get 104.8%. But remember, we just said it's a 50-50 chance, which means it only adds up to 100%. So if you subtract 100, you can see that is the house's edge. It's about 4.8. It's really about 4.5%, or the house's VIG, meaning every $100 you bet at a casino on minus 110 odds, you're expected to lose about $4.5. You put 100 bucks in, you're going to lose about $4.50, meaning you're going to get back about $95 on average. That's what they expect over thousands and thousands and thousands of bets, meaning if you average out all your hot streaks, all your cold streaks, you're going to lose about $5 for every minus 110 odds bet that you place. Now we're going to get into house edge, holds, and VIGs. So for example, we have another calculator on our website called a no VIG fair odds calculator, and we also have another calculator called a VIG calculator. This is the VIG, or the hold calculator. You can see if you input minus 110 and minus 110, the house's edge comes up about 4.5%. Remember what I just said with sleeper, minus 130 basically correlates over to the 1.77x they give you on each side. And you can see sleeper is taking an 11% house edge on every play that you guys make. So for that YouTuber you probably watch who tells you sleeper is the best app, is it really? And the reason it might seem like I'm attacking sleeper, I'm not. I'm just explaining the math behind how their book and everything works and how all these sports books work. So let's continue. And sleeper also did take away my code, so might give a little bit extra info on them. Explaining market width now. So market width is something that is very, very important. So sleeper, as we just mentioned, is a large market width, minus 130, meaning it's very hard to beat an app which has a large market width. What does that mean? It means the sportsbook or the casino is very unconfident in their lines. So they need to take a larger house edge to compensate for that lower level of confidence, if you follow what I'm saying. Just bear with me. I'm going to get this all in detail for you guys. So minus 130 is low confidence. It's a 60 market width because it's a deviation from 100. 30 plus 30 is 60. Now, if we take a look at another odds, minus 110, as we just said, that is a market width of about 20 because that's another 10 plus 10 deviation from 100. Then you have something like minus 150 to plus 125. Deviation is about 25 between these two numbers, as you can see here when it's plus and minus. But what am I saying here? What's the point of what I'm telling you? Basically, the closer these numbers are together, minus 105, the more confident the casino is in its markets. When this happens, you know the casino is more confident, their lines are more accurate to what will actually happen because they had to take a less of a house edge. So if you've ever tried to bet on sports live before, you've probably taken a look at the lines and it was minus 200 and like plus 120, which is absolute robbery. Basically saying the casino has no clue what is going on and they're just going to take a big house edge to compensate for that fact. Or something like sleeper in general, minus 130 to compensate for the fact that maybe they just want to take a bigger house edge. This drives sports bettors that are profitable away from platforms like this because it's harder to win on them. So I recommend you guys join Prizepicks, Underdog, any of those. We'll get into way more details later on about that. But how does this work now? What does this even mean, minus 110? As we said before, 50% chance, whatever it might be. We can take those numbers now and we can plug them into something called a no VIG fair odds calculator. So for example, you take, minus 110, and you can figure out, as we just said before, no VIG percentage, meaning if it was a perfect scenario, if the casinos were nice people and you bet $1 and they gave you $1 back, it would be a 50-50 game. It would be plus 100, plus 100. Same thing if minus 130, because it's basically the same exact odds. But long story short, this no VIG fair odds calculator will show you what the casino's house edge would be if there was none. So what can we use that for then? For example, let's take a random game. I'll literally go on Google right now, like BetMGM odds. Let's just go take a random game, for example, try to slow things down for you guys. I don't even know. Hopefully they show me something. Let's take an NBA game today. All right, we're going to take the Sixers versus the Brooklyn Nets. You see minus 350 right here on the favorite, plus 260 on the underdog. So we can go over here, minus 350, plus 260. And we can see the no vig fair odds is 280, minus 280, plus 280. So what does this mean now? Basically, this means if the house did not have an edge, if the casinos actually wanted to be fair, this right here would be minus 280 on the Sixers, plus 280 on the Brooklyn Nets. So the sports books and the odds makers' job, meaning the people who set the lines at the casino, is to make sure that when it's plus 280 on the no vig fair odds, as we just said, plus 280 is no vig fair, meaning fair market price. They want to make sure that this number is below that number. So for example, if it's plus 280, they want to make sure the number is plus 260. For example, down here, the Pistons, if the fair number was 250, they're going to make sure it's below that number, plus 220. And vice versa. When the minus number is minus 280, they want to make sure the price is above that, meaning minus 350, so that the house edge is reflected, meaning when you bet money, the casinos win in the long run. The house always wins, quote unquote. But there are discrepancies in the market, especially because there is a lot of different things you can bet on. For example, you can bet on almost anything under the sun. You can bet on players, rebounds plus assists, blocks plus steals, the most random player to get an assist, all this stuff, and that leads to market inefficiencies on a smaller scale, meaning you can take advantage of the markets on smaller things a lot easier. That's why you might see a lot of groups like mine that are actually profitable. We send picks on really random things. It might be a combination of NBA, NFL, all this stuff, and lines will get moved fast. So you send a pick, lines get bumped within a couple minutes because they found out they had a market error. We're going to get more into detail in that in a minute. This is as fast as I can go on a very basic concept. I have a lot of old educational stuff on my channel you guys can go check out in your free time. But long story short, if you do join our group, guys, like, we don't ask you to know any of this stuff. We just kind of feed it to you. Either way, let's continue. No vig calculator, we just went over that, basically the fair market prices and then how casinos can use that to their advantage to create lines. So now we're going to explain closing line value. There's a lot of fake gurus online who think closing line, who act like they actually beat closing lines, but there's a couple key things you need to know about closing line value. We're going to get into this point in a minute. Number one, what is closing line value? Closing line value is when, let me use a more simple example. Let's say let's say Giannis and his points open at like over under 27, and you take him to go over 27 on Prizepicks. By game time, if it's set at Giannis 29, you got a good value because you got 2 points of discrepancy, meaning you have positive closing line value, or typically an edge in the markets, meaning you have a percent discrepancy. Remember we said before, like, casino's house edge is 5 to 10% earlier in the video. Well, we just got a 2-point discrepancy on a 29-point line, which is a 6.8% edge over the casino, meaning if their house edge is 5% and we just got a 6.8% edge, you take 6.8, subtract it by 5, you have a 1.8% house edge. Very, very simple concept. You don't need to know that, but we'll get into more of that later. Giannis 29.5 or whatever it may be. That is positive closing line value. You can also have negative closing line value. For example, Giannis, you take him at more than 27, and then by game time, he's down to 25, meaning you lost value in the markets. This is also part of the game, unfortunately, and this is a very bad bet because then you're fighting the casino's house edge, but then you're also fighting your negative closing line value, which means this is a really bad bet. And if you have the option to cash out at full price, then you should get out, but they're never going to give you that option. Now, positive closing line value, meaning you take Giannis over 27 and by game time it's 29. This does not mean you have an edge in the markets every time. For example, we just went over how that was like a 6 to 7% discrepancy. Well, if the casino's taking Prizepicks house edge, for example, let's say if the casino is taking a 10% edge and you just got a 6% discrepancy, you're still losing in the long run. You're losing less, but you're still losing. So the concept of positive expected value is to be able to reverse engineer this to the point where you have a positive, I guess, expected value, meaning you overcome this house edge. For example, if it was like 31, Giannis to get 31, and then we can just take 4-point discrepancy divided by the 31 point line and we got a 12.9, 13% edge, then obviously that's bigger than Prizepicks' edge, meaning we have a 3% edge in the market. And we're going to get more into this in detail in a minute or two. Sorry if I'm confusing you. I just want to make this as simple as possible. This is how I've made thousands of dollars in the betting markets. This is how I've been banned and limited, and I've built bots and tools, and I've spent tens of thousands of dollars building tools so that I can actually explain this stuff to you, because most people online don't know this stuff. They're just firing out picks left and right, or maybe they bought a software that makes them think they know everything, but they don't actually know all the intricacies. And there's a lot more stuff we could get into, like Kelly criterion and betting, basically betting based off your market edge, a lot more stuff. But we're going to keep it very, very simple in this video, and why all of this contributes to positive expected value. So positive expected value, we have an odds value calculator, exact same thing. These are all free calculators on our website. You can go click up here. Wager 100, let's say the odds are minus 110 and the win probability is 50. Remember, we went over this before. If it's a minus 110 odds game, it's a 50% chance that you're going to win. Basically meaning in the long run, remember we went through this hold calculator earlier and we said minus 110, it's a 4.5% house edge, meaning right here, you're expected to lose about $4.55 for every $100 that you wager. Then you can play around with it though. Remember what we said earlier. We went to this calculator and we said if it is a minus 110 odds bet, you need a 52.38% win rate to break even. So if we go back to this, 52.38%, you can see that is how you break even. You can play around with the number. This is completely free. As I said, 55% hit rate on minus 110 odds, you're going to profit 5% of your money wagered in the long run, and so on and so forth. You can see it actually goes up exponentially, but this is also why you can see how many people are just complete scams, because like, bro, you ever see some dude on Instagram and he's like, yo, I'm hitting 70% on my picks, I'm hitting 65%. Like, you really think these dudes have a 24% house edge? Or they have a 24% edge on the casino, the billion-dollar companies? Like, over thousands of picks. That is mathematically impossible. And this is coming from someone that's made money in the betting markets and knows people that are absolutely crushing it. The only win rates I've ever heard of 60% plus are people that do like court siding, which is like you go to a game, you have like radio satellite phones or whatever it is, and I've heard of some people doing this and actually having pretty good results of it. Basically, you get a bet in a certain quarter before something happens. Not going to get into details. It's way too complicated. Or betting syndication. But either way, 65%, 70% hit rate, it's fugazi. It's fairy dust. Like, it does not exist. So do not get caught up in seeing people hit that much. It's not possible. The actual real pros hit like 55, 56, 57%, that type of stuff. So now, why is this all important? Now we're going to give you guys a live example of expected value. So I explained market width to you earlier. How can we use that to our advantage? How can we actually determine positive expected value? So market width, there are casinos such as Pinnacle Sportsbook. You can look them up. They have a very low market width, meaning instead of minus 110, which is something that like Fanduel might give you, let's say Fanduel, Pinnacle will give you minus 105, minus 105. And the reason they do this is because Pinnacle is more smart, or I should say their lines are a little bit more accurate to what will actually happen in the betting markets, meaning they know they're a little bit more confident, long story short. So what we can then do is we can take a really smart casino like Pinnacle, and we can put their odds using obviously bots and stuff into a no-vig fair odds calculation, basically something along these lines, and then find the no-vig fair odds and compare that to other sports books. So let me give you an example a little bit more complex, because minus 110, minus 110, minus 105, minus 105 won't work. Let's say the favorite is minus 150. And then on Pinnacle, because as I said, there's a small market width, the underdog is plus 140. We can see that Pinnacle thinks the no-vig odds are minus 144 plus 144. So we can use the no-vig odds from the very smart casino like Pinnacle and compare that to other sports books like Fanduel, DraftKings, MGM, Prizepicks, Underdog, and use that to figure out basically who messed up. So if the smart casino says the underdog should be plus 144, and then we go to BetMGM and MGM has the underdog listed at plus 150, we know we have a discrepancy in the markets, and that is how you create positive expected value. Basically finding discrepancies between a very smart casino's no-vig odds and a random casino like MGM, and I actually custom built myself multiple bots that do this type of stuff. You guys can see right over here, we have one right now that's live. It updates every 20 seconds. For example, Dallas Cowboys first team to score in the NFL game on Sunday at plus 135, only available at Bet365, has a 9.1% market edge, basically meaning that Pinnacle might think this is minus 110 and we're getting plus 135. And the reason you can figure out 9.1% edge in the market is you put it into the calculator, whatever your odds are you're getting, let's say it was 135, and then you correlate that to whatever the implied win probability would be. I don't know off the top of my head what would give me a 9% edge, but let me just give you like an example, say probably something along the lines of 49%, 47%? Yeah, probably like 46 and a half. There we go, something like that. And that's what you would need basically to have a 9% edge on those odds given. So might be confusing, might not, but long story short, what you guys need to know is math rules betting. It's everything. You think it's not? Like, you might watch my videos and be like, so if you're saying that to me, like, why are your videos like you just talking about players and like trends and stuff? Because to be honest with you, it's more entertaining, it's more fun. People watch it. People don't like watching math stuff every night. And most importantly, if I talk about math, the lines move within 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, meaning by the time 95 to 99% of you watch my videos, whether that's shorts on Instagram, whether that's on YouTube, the value is gone, like straight up. So that's why we save the good stuff for in our Discord, which is obviously like kind of sounds like stereotypical. It's like, oh yeah, all the good stuff's in our Discord, but it's like the truth. You can ask anyone in our VIP group how fast the lines move after we send them. It takes 5-10 minutes, sometimes even shorter. And then some of you might be asking, well, like, how do I figure out the odds on Prizepicks? Because you just told me it's fixed, more or less. We have this little chart here you guys can check out in your free time. I hope this was educational, informative to you. To some extent, I have video proof, as I said, of what it looks like to be banned from the betting markets or limited as a player. It is really annoying. So to be honest with you, I don't bet like a crazy amount anymore. I just have a team of really damn good people under me. I've made my money in betting, and now I'm building the companies up and hoping to educate a lot of you guys on how to avoid common scams. And yeah, I think that's about it. Have a good day.